Welcome to the fourth devlog for the game Sins of the Guardian. This week I want to talk about the Lust Mask and its abilities in the game, but before we do that I want to talk about the idea of the Sin of Lust and its representation. As many people know, lust is the Sin of Lust is the representation of sexual desires, and usually sexual desires can lead into manipulation and control over someone, and that's kind of how what the whole sin revolves around. So the way we designed the mask is the player activates the mask on the enemy so that you can control the enemy for a short period of time, which we thought would fit in with the whole theme of lust and manipulation. So for the inspiration of the game, we used a couple games such as XCOM was one of them, since you can control different characters, but another key one is actually Control, since there's an ability where you can manipulate an enemy and turn them into allies and fight for you. I was going to use this model or concept, but tweak the code slightly so that you can control the enemy yourself and then have it only last a short duration of time. So if we jump into the game, there's two enemies that you can control. So there's the Gruk and there's the Rockhound. So if you have the mask selected and then you aim at an enemy and activate it, you can actually take over the enemy and control it for a short period. As you can see, there's a timer of 10 seconds, and then once this finishes, you go back to the other character, but you can also prematurely cancel it by pressing Q, and then a cooldown starts and the duration goes back to 15. Here's an example of me controlling the Rockhound as well. The Rockhound can be especially useful in tight locations where its small stature can fit into tight gaps. On the other hand, the Gruk can move certain objects that the character can't. So even though it's a simple concept, it's actually the most complicated piece of code that I have in the game. I'll try to go through it as quickly as I can and in the simplest way as I can, so you guys can follow. So what I did first was obviously check if the mask was selected. If the mask is selected and if you were aiming, it checks if a raycast is hitting an object tagged enemy. If it is, it would take the enemy character controller, and if you activate the ability, it activates the bool within that character controller, and also deactivate the enemy script that causes it to attack the player and follow it. So if we look here, we can actually see a bool in the update which spans all the way down for the entire code, where it says manipulating. So this changes when you activate the Lust Mask, and when it does activate, this script gets activated while the attack script for the enemy gets deactivated, including the character control script and the character camera. Each of these enemies have a camera attached to them, which activates upon activation of the mask. So the only problem I realized with these scripts is that the enemy controllers aren't actually very accurate, and that you'd have to walk while turning. So that could be an area of improvement for future iterations. But aside from all that, the character controller seems to be working properly. I would have to check up on the group if anything needed to be added, but so far so good. So that was devlog number 4. Hope you enjoyed watching that, and yeah, thank you for watching.